Multimodal analysis. Communication is part of our everyday life. We mostly do this by talking or writing. However, we also use other forms of communication like gestures, gazes, tone of voice, etc., also known as nonverbal communication or paralinguistic. Multimodality analysis studies how these other modes of communication are used in a social environment. Multimodality has been helpful to create theories in social linguistics. Researchers say that people create a definition of what goes on in interactions using a range of different modes. Every mode has a purpose and conveys a message. People are expected to respond to these messages. In our book, the author explains multimodality and social semiotic approach. Social semiotics is an approach to communication that seeks to understand how people communicate by a variety of means in particular social settings. A key question for social semiotics is to find out how people make signs in the context of interpersonal communication and relations to achieve specific aims. To understand the social semiotic approaches to multimodality, is it important to understand the social interpretation of language and its meanings to the whole range of modes of representation and communication employed in a culture. Central to this approach are three theoretical assumptions. First, social semiotics assumes that representation and communication always draw on a multiplicity of modes, all of which contribute to meaning. It focuses on analyzing and describing the full repertoire of meaning-making resources which people use in different contexts: actional, visual, spoken, gestural, written, and others, and on developing means that show how these are organized to make meaning. Second, multimodality assumes that all forms of communication have been shaped through their cultural, historical, and social environment to realize social functions. All communicational acts are socially made and meaningful for the specific social environment in which they have been made. The meanings of multimodal signs are located in the social origin, motivations, and interests of those who make the sign in specific social contexts. Third, the meaning realized by any mode are always interwoven with the meanings made with other modes co-present and cooperating in the communicative event. This interaction produces meaning. Multimodality focuses on people's process of meaning-making, a process in which people make choices from a network of alternatives, selecting one modal resource over another. Social semiotics assumes that resources are socially shaped to become, over time, meaning-making resources which articulate the meanings demanded by the requirements of different communities. These organized sets of semiotic resources for making meaning are referred to as modes. The more a set of resources has been used in the social life of a particular community, the more fully and finely articulated it will have become. For example, the way in which gesture has been shaped into modes varies across diverse communities such as the hearing impaired, ballet dancers, and airport runway ground staff. In order for something to be a mode, there needs to be a shared cultural sense within a community of a set of resources and how these can be organized to realize meaning. To analyze how people use the mode of communication to transmit meaning, researchers need to collect and analyze data. There are 4 steps in this process. Step 1. Collecting and logging data. If the researcher observes the way of communication in a classroom, the data will be a mixture of video recordings, field notes, materials and texts used during the interaction, participant interviews. Afterwards, the researcher reviews the video recordings of a lesson along with the field notes and the texts collected from the lesson. From this viewing, they make a descriptive account of the lesson, a video log. The log is a synopsis of what was going on during the observations. Step 2. Viewing data. Multimodal analysis involves repeated viewing of the data. This helps recognize customary acts, patterns of gesture, and routines across the time and space of the classroom. Viewing the data alongside the logs and organizing it in light of the research questions serves to generate criteria for sampling the data, refining and generating new questions, and developing analytical ideas. Step 3. Sampling data. Using video to collect data produces rich data, and often a lot of it. Multimodal transcription and analysis are intensive. It can take hours to transcribe an excerpt of a few minutes. It is not necessary to analyze all the video of a lesson in detail. For this reason, the researchers sample the video data to select instances, episodes, for detailed analysis. How to select these episodes or focal text is always guided by the research question. Step 4. Transcribing and analyzing data. Linguistic notions of transcription refer to the translation of speech into writing. Transcription conventions are used to express features of speech, such as intonation, hesitations or pauses. What is gained from the transcript is the potential to rearrange speech units to observe certain aspects. The book gives an example of multimodal analysis of social semiotic study of speech in a classroom interaction. This example took a multimodal approach to address the following questions. How is English produced? What does English become when it is interactively constructed in classrooms marked by social, cultural and linguistic diversity? The collected data included teacher and student interviews, video recordings and observation of lesson units. The research observed that a number of modes are key to the communication in this interaction: gesture, gaze, body posture, movement, the teacher's interaction with the textbook. The teacher uses different modes together to accomplish a specific goal. The teacher used gaze and gestures to encourage students to talk, and she was also able to carefully select which students contributed to the debate. Multimodality is a very recent approach, and it is still in an early stage of development. In conclusion, people do not just communicate with words or writing, they also use gestures, tone of voice, images, etc. to communicate. Multimodality analysis: the different modes people use to communicate and how they construct them to transmit a specific message.